One of the most misunderstood elements of Watch Dogs 1 is the real conflict between Aiden Pearce and DedSec, because it isn't about hacking skill or control of CTOS, it's about fundamentally different beliefs on responsibility. On the surface, DedSec looks like allies fighting the same enemy, but the game quietly shows that Aiden and DedSec are actually moving in opposite directions, even when their goals briefly overlap. DedSec believes exposure is power. Their entire philosophy is built around the idea that information should be forced into the open, no matter the consequences. They leak data, embarrass corporations, and destabilize systems because they believe sunlight automatically creates justice. The problem is that DedSec never stays to deal with the fallout. When lives are disrupted or chaos follows, they move on to the next reveal. To them, accountability ends once the truth is released. Aiden operates differently. He doesn't believe exposure alone fixes anything. He believes threats must be removed permanently. This is why he targets individuals rather than systems, even though he has the tools to do both. Aiden doesn't trust the public to respond correctly to information, and the game repeatedly supports his skepticism. Time and time again, data leaks fail to change behavior, while power simply reorganizes itself under a new name. This philosophical divide becomes clearer the more DedSec interacts with Aiden. They manipulate him, feed him objectives, and treat him like a blunt instrument. To DedSec, Aiden is useful precisely because he's willing to get his hands dirty in ways they refuse to acknowledge. They frame themselves as revolutionaries, but rely on a vigilante to deal with the consequences of their actions. That contradiction is never resolved, and it's intentional. What makes this tension so effective is that neither side is entirely right or wrong. DedSec exposes real corruption and forces conversations that would never happen otherwise. Aiden, on the other hand, understands that systems don't collapse just because people are informed. Someone always fills the vacuum. The game subtly asks whether truth without responsibility is just another form of negligence. By the end of the story, Aiden doesn't join DedSec or adopt their worldview. He keeps his distance, fully aware that their methods create as many problems as they solve. DedSec fades back into the digital background, continuing their crusade, while Aiden remains grounded in the physical consequences of violence, loss, and fear. One group believes change comes from exposure, the other believes change comes from action. Watch Dogs. One never declares a winner between these ideologies, but it makes one thing clear. Technology alone doesn't create justice, and neither does anonymity. Without accountability, even the most righteous movements risk becoming detached from the human cost. Aiden and DedSec aren't enemies, but they're not allies either. They're two responses to the same broken world, each revealing the flaws in the other.